My dearly beloved, I am Reverend Dr. Vilma Chesney, and I'm speaking today on Soldiers of Christ, Part 2. I am going to begin with a little story. One day, as I was on the public bus, I observed a passenger sitting opposite me. He got up and approached the driver of the bus and began telling the driver not to drink water while he was driving the bus. This passenger told the driver that he saw another driver drinking water on the bus, and the driver choked and got into an accident. Then the passenger began to tell the driver about driving over the speed limit. I could not tell if the driver was driving over the speed limit, but I realized that if this passenger believed that the driver was doing something wrong, what about him? I have read many times in the bus a caution that says do not speak to the driver while he is operating the bus. In my opinion, he should not have been talking to the driver while he was operating the bus. That can distract the driver and really cause an accident. I know for a fact that this is so. I wanted to tell the man that he must sit down and let the driver do his job. Then I remembered, as an intercessor, I can pray silently for divine order, which I did. As I mentioned before in part 1, Gamaliel, the Pharisee, who was a teacher of the law and was highly respected by all the people, cautioned the council about killing the apostles who were teaching in the name of Jesus. And I want to read verses 40, 41, and 42 of Acts chapter 5. Here begins the reading. The council followed Gamaliel's advice. They called the apostles in and had them whipped, and ordered them never again to speak in the name of Jesus, and then they set them free. 41. As the apostles left the council, they were happy because God had considered them worthy to suffer disgrace for the sake of Jesus. 42. And every day in the temple and in people's homes, they continued to teach and preach the good news about Jesus the Messiah. End of quotation. You see, when you know that Jesus has your back, you are fearless. You do not look to the right or to the left. If your conscience is clear, you pray on. There's a little chorus that goes, if your conscience is clear all right, pray on. If your conscience is clear all right, pray on. Say, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, O Lord, thy will be done. If your conscience is all right, pray on. What was reassuring for me is that the driver of the bus remained calm throughout it all. It was as if he knew to agree with his adversary while he was in the way. Soon after, the passenger left the bus. But before he left the bus, he asked the driver for a transfer. So, as I reflected on this other chorus came to mind. He looked beyond my fault and saw my need. If this passenger had a fault of condemning people or criticizing, Jesus looked beyond his fault and saw his need. Did he really talk to the driver because he wanted an easy way to ask for a transfer? Or was he actually sent to advise the driver? As I said this, I reflected that one day I was waiting for public transportation and I was standing a little ways from the bus stop. And a gentleman came up to me and said, "Miss Lady, do not stand there if you're waiting for the bus. Go and stand by the bus stop." I quickly dismissed the man and said, "Oh, I'm going to see when the bus is coming and I'll get to the bus stop on time." And you know what happened? Shortly after, the bus came. And before I knew it, the bus was passing me. And because I was not at the bus stop, the bus kept going. And then I reflected. I said, you know what? This man came to give me a warning because God sent him. He knew that the bus would have passed me if I wasn't at the bus stop, but I failed to listen. So, on reflection now, I'm pondering upon this passenger advising the bus driver, and if he was sent by God to give him advice so that he would drive this bus safely to its destination and carry the passenger to wherever they have to go on time and safely. So, for future reference, if anyone comes up to you and give you an advice, take it in good deed. Take it as a good deed. Accept it and work it because you never know. You never know. God does his work through all of us. And we are our brother's keepers. And therefore, anybody can go to someone and give them an advice because we are soldiers of Christ. And we are making him proud. We are going about, by doing these good deeds, we are showing our Christ-like behavior as we become more and more like Jesus the Christ. So if your conscience is clear, all right, pray on. If you have a little bit of advice to give someone, do not hesitate. Tell it to them anyway. Whether they take the advice or not, it's up to them. And they will reflect later on and said, this person told me this and I did not listen. And they will learn now to listen. They will learn now to obey. In Jesus' precious name. If your conscience is clear, all right, pray on. Because we are soldiers of Christ. I thank you for listening and may God continue to bless you.